or an auditorium, if you will.
Sure.
There's 500 people in that room. The only thing is, not all of those people are going to be looking at you at any given time. Right?
Sure.
There'll be a handful of people that pay attention as you're sending a message out there or posting. So you post on social media, might only be 5 to 10% of your audience that sees that at any given time, right? And so I think it just comes back to, you have to just put your message out there, but also consistently do that many times, right? Because not everyone's going to get it the first time. Not everyone hears it the first time.
Tea or coffee?
Ooh, tea.
Beach holiday or city break?
City break, definitely.
Definitely. Really? You're not a beach bum?
Don't like to sit still.
Okay.
I can't do relax on the beach, to be honest.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Cats. Always had cats. Still do. So
Okay.
I like dogs as well,
But you lean towards cats.
Just raised with that kind of family around me. So
Okay.
yeah.
Netflix binge watch or a board game?
Ooh. I can do a binge, but it tends to be more of do a little bit with a dinner or lunch or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a deep dive like 24 hours or no overnight.
Usually
that
not,
binge watching.
No. But I listen to podcasts all the time.
Okay.
I'll binge podcasts.
Yeah.
That'll be like while I'm driving and
Absolutely.
in the office.
Non-stop. There's always something happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Pineapple on your pizza?
I am. Do you know what? I am privy to pineapple on pizza, to be honest, which is, I know some people are going to, very divided opinion, right?
Controversial.
Very controversial, yeah. Plus, I really like Italian food and making it right. So I think Italians would beg to differ.
They would.
Bit of a sacrilege.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Do you know what? I can be both.
Okay.
I tend to try and be an early bird, get up early. I like having that start to my day before I really have to go into the office, sit with the team and stuff. I like having a little bit of a quiet time in the morning.
Sure.
But then sometimes I'll just stay up really late as well. My sleep schedule gets a bit mixed up as well.
Burning the candle on both sides.
Yeah, if you need to sometimes. Then,
if you need to, yeah, absolutely. Concert or comedy show?
Ooh. Do you know what? I don't go to many of either one. I'm going to say comedy show because I do watch a lot of comedy. So it's, I think it's one of the things in the UK I'm really fond of is like UK comedy.
Yeah.
Which, so like coming from a different country, that's the best part about UK culture. It's just like the comedy, the humor.
It's, for a lot of other people, they just don't get it.
Yeah, I know. It's like you really either you get it right or you just don't.
You just don't. It goes straight over your head.
Yeah.
Winter snow or summer sun?
Ooh, I'm gonna say winter snow.
Okay.
And it's a very practical reason, which is I can always put more clothes on if I'm cold or if it's really hot. And there's a limit.
Yeah,
right?
there's a limit. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say winter snow.
Winter snow.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Texting or talking?
I want to say both because I use WhatsApp a lot and I like doing voice messages, but I don't really like doing a phone call if I can do a voice message. So I don't know. Somewhere in between, I guess. but probably texting if I had to choose.
Okay, good. I was going to say I'm going to push you. Which way?
Yeah.
So
probably
texting.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Camping or 5-star hotel?
I say 5-star hotel, but I've had some really good camping trips as well.
Okay, excellent.
But I do like a nice hotel.
Like nice hotel, brilliant. Well, congratulations, you got 10 out of 10.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Good start.
Nice.
Well done.
Nice. I got all the right answers.
You did indeed. Andreas, thank you for taking time out to coming to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. It's great. I'm looking forward to the conversation. For our viewers and people watching and listening, tell us, what do you do and who do you serve?
So I work in property investments, which is something I've been doing since 2019. And it was something I kind of got into because I've stumbled into a little bit. I'm originally from Denmark, and the whole property market there is very, very different. So I never really considered it to be a, should we say, valid business model. And stumbled upon this a whole new world open to me. And since I kind of started this, the mission's been the same with my company from start, and that is I want to try and make that as accessible to other people as I possibly can. So with my team, I help people who have typically no knowledge, no time how to invest in property, and we can take them through that entire process from start to finish. Barring, signing a bit of paperwork, which they have to do, we can pretty much take care of everything else from, start to finish. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
Fantastic. Yeah. I didn't realize you're Danish.
Yeah, I am.
Now you say it,
yeah,
makes perfect sense. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Whereabouts from Denmark are you?
It's a little town. I was going to say most people probably won't know it, but it's quite close to the German border, about an hour away.
Okay.
So on the kind of mainland of Denmark.
Okay.
And
because there's two parts of Denmark.
There's kind of three, because you've got a lot of islands. So you've got like the mainland, which is connected to Germany. You've got Middle Island, and it's a big island where you've got Copenhagen. So I'm from the mainland part.
Right. Okay. So I've learned something new today. Yeah. So the Middle Island is where Legoland is.
That is actually on the mainland. Yeah.
Is that on the mainland?
Yeah,
Don't you go to the Middle Island?
No. That's
is it? Okay.
H.C. Andersen, the fairy tale.
I've got it totally wrong then.
Children's fairy tale guy. He's from there. So
okay. Yeah. So I have my geography is totally out, but I have an uncle that lives in Slangrup, which is about 45 minutes, an hour north.
Yeah.
West of Copenhagen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my family's still on the mainland, but I've got friends living around Copenhagen.
Okay.
So,
all spread around.
All spread around.
Yeah, we went. Was it the summer before we went, and had a great time there.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
It's a nice place.
It is beautiful.
I think it surprises people a bit when they go as well, how it differs from the UK.
It differs a lot. Yeah, around Copenhagen, really nice. Canals are lovely.
Yeah.
Pancakes, nice pancakes. Yeah.
Very nice pancakes.
Yeah. So fond memories. We're gonna go again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I always recommend people to go to Aarhus, which is the second biggest city in Denmark, which is on the mainland. Very cultural, very young city, very big as well, and very, very interesting as well. Because Copenhagen is just like anywhere. If I go traveling, I try and not go to the capital. I'll try and go to other cities, because there's usually quite a few things that people might not have seen before as well.
Absolutely more culture.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, because I think in the main capitals you lose that culture because it becomes a cosmopolitan mix.
Yeah, it's very touristy.
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, well, straight away, great insight. Thanks for that. So, you're into property. You help people with that roadmap from into property investment. Tell me a bit about your reach with regards to, do you serve people in Leeds, West Yorkshire, or nationally? That's one. And then also a bit of a makeup of the team. Is it you and yourself, you and a team? What does that team look like?
Well, so I've got a team of 4 working with me.
Brilliant.
And I mean, our clientele is so varied, and I find this is the biggest challenge for my business. When people kind of ask me, who's your perfect customer? And it's like, the thing is, it can be anyone.
Okay.
And most of my clients are overseas, so they're remote, because like I said, maybe they lack that reach to get to somewhere like Leeds.
Okay.
So Leeds is kind of like our main investment area, and it always shocks people when they kind of understand how cheap it can be to buy in Leeds, especially if they're overseas or if they're based in London, where property prices are obviously very, very expensive.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's quite varied, to be honest. Some of the clients we work with now are, one running a marketing agency, very busy doing that, loves doing it, which is, say, if anything, that's my perfect customer, someone who's a business owner, who's very busy, they're starting to make some profit in their business, and they want to kind of start building that. So we try and help them. And then in my team, we've got people there with different capacities to help for the entire process. So I work with a lot of, extended power team, as it were. So I've got accountants, I work with solicitors, mortgage brokers, because we really start from the beginning, sit down with people, try and understand
their financial position,
what they're trying to do in the long term.
Sure.
How can we build a bit of a roadmap for them? Then potentially set up a company for them, help them find the properties, take all of that through the legal process, help with the mortgages, do the refurbishments, and then off the back end sort the management out as well.
So an ideal customer is a business owner. They've got, they're making, they're running a business. They've got some extra disposable income. They want to reinvest that into property. That's an ideal fit for you because then, they don't have the time, they're time poor. They can employ you to, or delegate that task to yourself to support them with making sure the process is done thoroughly, aligned to best practice. So you go from start to finish with regards to purchasing that property, and you do the next part as well with regards to either renting it, putting on to rent and managing it, or selling it, depending on what the exit is for that property.
I mean, we tend to build portfolios, so we don't really tend to go for the selling route.
Okay.
Naturally, some clients will want to do that as well. We can certainly assist with it. So our core focus is really creating rental properties.
Okay.
A lot of what we're involved with now is social housing.
Yeah.
So working with social housing providers where they provide homes for vulnerable tenants in need of some kind, which can be financial, domestic abuse. There can be a lot of different tenant types to deal with, and we kind of work very closely with them.
Very good.
Properties go to them. They put people in those properties that need it, families that need it, and it's nice, knowing that you're making a little bit of a difference there as well off the back end, and not just making people more money, right? It's not what we're about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's the moral obligation and the ethical values that you're bringing to the table with regards to, we're all in business to make money and make a business prosper. But through that, if we can actually have some value given back to community, then that's a win, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I always try and look for this, whenever I do anything, I'm always about adding value and making sure, everybody wins where they can. And I think, when you work with many different people, like I work with solicitors, I work with mortgage brokers, accountants, is making sure in that process, that number one, obviously I can trust them, they can trust me, but there's every step of the way, we want to make sure that everyone kind of wins in that scenario. Plus, I also appreciate it's not pocket change, when you're buying properties. So it means a lot to me when a client trusts us with that kind of money to take care of that process for them, because we're building, what I always say is we build generational wealth for people, which is what property can do for you. But that's also a responsibility I don't take lightly, because some of the clients I work with have been with us for many years because we really established that close relationship. And I never work with 200 people all at once. I work with a small handful because it's a very personalized service, and it's a very personal thing. It's a lot of wealth to entrust with someone else to help you build something like that. We're not going down to the shop and buying a couple of groceries, right? It's significantly more money.
Absolutely. It's a considered purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, so no, not thinking about in the business, but thinking about on the business.
Yeah.
Right now, what's the biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge, this is more a continual one, is there's always shifts in the market. And so you have these seasons, right, in property where sometimes we shift from what we call a seller's market to a buyer's market.
Sure.
So if there's lots of properties coming on the market, then there's less buyers, which means you can typically get lower prices on properties. But then you have things like recently, Bank of England base rates have just dropped, which means mortgage rates have dropped. So there's a lot more people buying properties now again. So that creates more competition in the market, becomes harder to get the opportunities in the first place. So there's always these kind of waves that we go through, which is probably the biggest challenge overall. Regulatory changes, as Labour came in, they introduced a whole bunch of new changes, and it's like we're always having to navigate that, and that's, I think, forever the biggest challenge for me and the team is just making sure we stay on top of that and always find the best way forward with those changes.
Yeah, of course. And is that your role, or is that delegated to a team player, or have you got the finger on the pulse there?
I think it's mostly me who's got the finger on the pulse when it comes to that. I'm not one to really read news unless I feel it's relevant. And I always think there's going to be a lot of doom and gloom. And there was this, I I'd say at this point I almost lose count of how many times, someone will tell me the property market is crashing, right? Or, you shouldn't invest in property because it's really terrible, because that's sometimes the narrative. And every time it's just cutting through the noise and understanding what's really going on here. And I always come back to the fundamentals, which is, people need places to live in.
Yeah.
People need houses. And I think there's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of people, for good or for bad reason, who think landlords shouldn't exist. And this is sometimes a challenge. Another challenge I have is convincing people that actually, no, we do need private landlords. We need people to invest in properties, because there's always going to be people that need to rent. We need good landlords. We need people that will create good homes.
Absolutely.
We don't need the rogue ones, right, that will not create a nice home for someone and won't look after their tenants. But there's very much a need. One of the statistics that I sort of keep track of is the UK government's always on about how many houses they need to build, and they will pledge to build X amount of houses. I think it's about 200,000 a year. The problem is they're about 365,000 in deficit already.
Wow.
Right. So it's a huge number of houses that they haven't built yet that they really need. And that's where, this is something I try and educate people on as well. It's like, this is why it's important. People do become landlords. People do invest in properties. It's not just for them. It's also for helping that need that is inevitably just not going away. So.
You said something earlier on which is super interesting about exactly the people you serve. So you've got international investors that are investing into UK. So I'm really interested to learn and understand how do you attract international investors. And then you also said Leeds is a hotspot, especially for Southerners or people from London and for them international investors. Tell me a little bit more about how do you find the international investors and vice versa, and then also tell us a bit about the property market in Leeds and what opportunities that presents.
Of course. So first of all, I think with the international investors, so this is something I preach a lot to the people I also teach in property. So I'm also a mentor. I help other people kind of get into property as well. And something I always preach to people is, your social media is incredibly important, right? Your marketing, networking. Yeah. And I think one of the benefits we've got, especially since COVID, right? It's never been easier to be online and for that to be normal. Having a Zoom call with people, having a video call with people is so normal these days.
Totally normalized.
And you are so close to all of the potential customers you want at any given time. And what I normally say to people is, imagine yourself in a room, right, and you're surrounded by 500 people. That to most people sounds really scary, but that's the nature. Like, that is social media, right? That's the reality. At any given time, you've got this huge audience. So it's not that I've done anything different. It was just that I've, started my business. I've started talking about what I do in the business. I think as a result, I've then also attracted people overseas, because what I realized is actually there isn't much difference in terms of the process for investing. And it just so happens the UK is probably one of, if not the easiest place to invest if you're overseas. You can open a company here without having an address in the UK. You can open a bank account without having an address in the UK, right? And you can buy properties without having an address in the UK. So you could spend your entire life overseas and you can still build a portfolio here, which you go to most other countries, there'll be lots of regulations, there'll be, blockers they put in place, so there's extra loopholes you've got to get through or hoops you've got to jump through, as it were. So I think it's just come from that. And when I had that understanding and I started talking about it, naturally you kind of get people coming to you thinking that's really interesting, and tell me a little bit more about how that works.
So I love that, and it's something that I talk about and try to educate our audience about as well. If you had a prospect in front of you, you would tell them exactly about what you do and how you can help them. Yeah. But put a camera in front of you and you can do the same, but not one-to-one, one-to-many.
Loads. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for a lot of businesses, and I feel that there's still so much hesitation in the UK business market. And I'm not sure if it's a culture thing, that we're not used to being in front of a camera and taking a selfie and taking photographs, or it's just a sign of the times. Like you said, COVID was horrible for all the reasons that we know COVID was horrible about, but it normalized Zoom. Zoom became a thing. It normalized video calls. It normalized just connecting with people on a video call to communicate and do business. So for our business, it was instrumental in just normalizing that whole concept of business can carry on. I can still connect with people from the office, but not face to face. And then they realized, well, I can do that in London or Las Vegas or Sydney.
It doesn't matter.
It honestly doesn't matter. So there was a couple of things, it normalized video calls, it normalized Zooms, but you said something else which was really valuable, which is the mindset. The mindset of saying, well, I'm just explaining what I do, and the right kind of people that I resonate with gravitated back towards you. And again, that's just, putting a flag up. This is who I am. This is what I do. These are the kind of things that people I can serve because this is my expertise. And they just come to you. So, to me, that's like you're a live use case of exactly what we advocate to all our businesses.
I think it's so right. And like I said, I think when you talk about like running a property business, right, it's like you have to cover different aspects as well, and I think in my mentoring role as well, talking to, people I mentored and taken through that journey, and from my own journey as well.
Sure.
10% of what I've needed to learn is about property. 90% is all the other stuff, right? It's the marketing, it's the, the compliance, it's the, just business, right? And it's like, you've got your subject field, which can be anything in business, and then you've got everything else, which is largely the same for all of us, right, as business owners. I think when, like you say, I think you come into the situation where, the example I use again is imagine yourself in a room with 500 people, or an auditorium, if you will.
Sure.
And there's 500 people in that room. The only thing is, not all of those people are going to be looking at you at any given time. Right?
Sure.
There'll be a handful of people that pay attention as you're sending a message out there or posting.
Of course.
To take that metaphor, right?
Sure.
So you post on social media, might only be 5 to 10% of your audience that sees that at any given time, right? And so I think it just comes back to, like you were saying, you have to just put your message out there, but also consistently do that many times, right? Because not everyone's going to get it the first time. Not everyone hears it the first time.
Of course.
There's so many reasons, but I also think, exactly like you were saying, you start attracting the right people. Not everyone's right for you. And this was a hard lesson I had to learn as well, is, you've got to learn to say no. And I think when you send the message out, the right message that's true to this is what I'm doing, and you're unapologetic about it, it's like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be for everyone.
Yes.
And that's certainly true with my business. Property is a very, very big industry. And you get people from all different walks of life that doing all sorts of different strategies in all sorts of different areas. And I have to appreciate it's not for everyone what I do. And that's okay, because I work with the people I want to work with that want to work with me, because it's exactly what they're looking for, right?
We're singing off the same hymn sheet, and it's what I say to every business, because what tends to happen is they look around, they look on their phone, and they see video everywhere. It doesn't matter what channel you're on. Every channel is video first. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's all the same, video.
Yeah.
But as soon as you tell a CEO, an MD, a founder, head of marketing, get yourself on the video, they're like, me? Can somebody else do it?
Why should I do that?
Why? Can you just put some graphics on? Put some graphics on a screen. And it's like, it's all about humanizing the brand. It's all about imagining your prospects in front of you and not selling to them. Don't sell to them. Educate them. I don't like to be sold to, so why do you want to sell to somebody else? Help people to buy off you. And it's about changing that mindset to say, well, think about the buyer's journey. They don't know you, but what they know is, in your case, property. Yeah. So you can talk about property, your narrative, your creative will either qualify or disqualify them. If they just happen to be scrolling on LinkedIn or any other channel and they're in that mindset that they're just scrolling and they see a face that they recognize, they don't recognize, but there might be something that says property investment that grabs their attention. Then something that grabs their attention. It's not about your brand because we're not a Nike, we're not an Apple.
No.
We're a micro business, but talking about something that resonates with them, they might actually hang around to watch another 30 seconds of what you've got to say. And once they say it, and if that actually strikes a chord, then they might actually click the button to learn more or reach out to you or DM you and start to have that conversation. And what we're trying to educate our whole community, people that work with us and people that don't work with us, is use video, get it out there, and the confidence boost that you will have when someone actually engages with you, that's when the penny drops.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something I feel like I have to kind of slap someone across the face multiple times and then see, right, it sounds a bit wrong. I'm not an abusive mentor, but I think, when I speak to people about this, and to be fair, I had a mentoring call last night with someone, and he was telling me about, I'm not really getting any leads, I'm not getting any investors, also in property. And he was doing all the right things, he had like some good lead magnets, he was, posting content. But then I always dive deeper and I was like, okay, well, how long have you been doing it for? It's like 2 months. It's like, right, there's your problem. It's like you can do all the right things, but you need to add time into that. And it takes time to build that.
Yeah.
But I think what we tend to forget as well is something I was taught by a guy called Daniel Priestley. I don't know if you've come across him before.
Absolutely.
He talks about parasocial relationships and how, when you are doing all your content online, when you're marketing, you're building your brand, people are building these relationships in the background that you don't even notice, and what we call parasocial relationships. So there's YouTubers I will follow, and I feel like I know them because I've watched loads of their content. But if I met them in person, they wouldn't have the faintest clue who I am.
Of course.
Right? So I built a parasocial relationship with them. And it's like, we all need to appreciate that. I think, any business owner, that you need to see that people are building those parasocial relationships with you in the background, but it just takes time, right? That's the thing. It's not going to happen overnight. Relationship takes time to build, unfortunately. I mean, when you get there, that's when you suddenly get someone reaching out and say, I've been following you for a while. It's never they've just discovered you, right? It's like they've been following you for a while every time.
The analogy I like to share with a lot of businesses is, and if you're a sports person, you get it straight away. If you go to the gym, you're not going to get results after 2 weeks. If you go for even 6 weeks, all right, you might have the gym gear, you might be doing all your reps and everything, and you look at yourself and thinking, I'm not seeing any difference. Look in the mirror after 6 months.
Yeah.
Look after 12 months. Look 1.5 years later. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Absolutely.
I always remind people that, you got to play for the long game. You got to trust the process, and you can't fast forward that.
No.
We can be agile with regards to, all right, we need to be here, we need to be there, we need to film this, we need to produce that. We can be agile, but when you put it out into the market, you can't fast forward that. And then the thing with social media is, and I think still, most agencies still don't understand, and most businesses don't understand how social media works. Social media, like how you kind of experienced, is not transactional. It's built over time, and it's about it's no lack in trust. It's building that rapport and that relationship that you show up again and again consistently, just like family. Even on a bad day, you still turn up with a smile, and you still keep on going because you're present. And if you're not present, you're not there, people will forget about you. Whereas if you're there again and again, you get that consistency, and when the time is right for them, they'll reach out to you. Yeah. And unlike traditional television where you didn't have a choice, you've got to watch the ad, and once you get past the ad, you can get back to your program. Social media is different. If they don't like it, they'll just scroll past you, they'll hit next, they'll just switch off. There's so many channels to watch. If they don't like it, they'll just I'm not interested. You don't have the same command that traditional terrestrial TV used to have. in this world. So you have to produce content that's going to be helpful, educational. The best content is entertaining, but it's hard to do that.
It is.
You know, people want a viral piece.
Yeah.
But
you've got to entertain and you've got to educate as well. Right?
Exactly.
And I think a point you raised there as well, which I so agree with, is, you know, almost how people approach social media now. And I get a lot of people who, when they start a business, like myself, when I started my business, to be fair, you know, you've never done quote unquote social media, right? You've never really created content. And so I think that's a really scary hurdle for a lot of people to get over initially. And rightly so, you know, it's a strange thing to start putting yourself out there. And I think a lot of people are scared of doing that because they think about what people are going to think, what people are going to do if I do that. And the reality is, again, I always bring it back to my analogy of being in that room. It's like you can't expect everyone to like what you do. And if they don't, they have the freedom to go right past it. You know, they have the freedom, just like you do, to not engage with that. But I also think the liberating fact, right, is I think it's very, very sort of rare to see people be negative on social media. It's very rare for people to take the effort to comment on something you do, right, and say, you know, that was really horrible, or I didn't like that. It's like, if people don't like it, the tendency is to ignore it, right? Whereas if they really liked it, then they will engage with it. I think it's really, you get the positive reinforcement, but you get very little of the negative, which I think helps, you know, build the brand.
You know, LinkedIn has this concept that everybody knows: know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
I live by know, love, and trust because of the point you just said. If it's just like, people just scroll past it. Yeah, that was nice. They scroll past it. You've got to really provoke them to either really dislike it or really, really, as I say, love it, to make a comment or share it or do anything with it, because everyone's too busy. Everyone's running 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to stop them in their tracks, for them to watch that content and engage with it, you've got to do something which is really outstanding.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the world we live in today.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like attention has become the biggest currency of today's world, right?
Yeah.
And it was like I was speaking to someone else about, you know, running ads, and it's like ads is like 90% of your work should be on your hook.
Yeah.
You know, because like if you can't capture people's attention, then they're not going to read the rest of it anyway.
Of course.
And it's like everything we do now, we just have to, you know, appreciate that currency. The currency we're working with now is attention. And it's like, how do we grab the attention? And so I'm also a huge believer, you know, in quantity. Not saying quantity over quality, because I don't think you should do, you know, inefficient actions and content, but I do think you need to do the repetitions, like you said earlier, right? And I'm a huge believer, if you start doing social media, it's far more important that you get the frequency of putting yourself out there, advertising your business, than it is to really sit and agonize over, like, I need the most perfect piece of content. And you do that once a week because people forget anyway, right?
Of course.
And so it's like, if you do subpar content, people will forget anyway. And there's a framework as well that, I think this is Alex Amosi that talks about this. Huge fan of him as well. And he talks about people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught.
Yes.
And it's like, this is definitely true for my business in property. And one of the mistakes, I suppose, I was making early on, so I was trying to overcomplicate things that I was saying. And I was assuming that some of the things I wanted to say were too basic. And it's like, people wouldn't get value from that. But I'm drawing that conclusion from the assumption of like what I know. And I think it's so easy as business owners, right? We get so engrossed in our business and our topical area of that business that we take for granted what people know.
Yeah.
And so you just forget that most people don't know as much as you do. And actually you do need to put the basics in. And even if they do know it, I think people like to be reminded. So I'll often keep my, you know, content, and when I talk to people, I will keep it very simple, because I think by doing that, most people don't have that understanding I do. And if they learn something from it, they want to know more, you know, then I can then I can deep dive, right? Yeah. Then I can just empty my brain.
Absolutely. Like you, I'm a huge fan of Alex Hormozy. You mentioned Daniel Priestley earlier on. You know, great people in the marketing space talking lots of value. Someone said to me, and it's a really interesting take without sounding derogatory, if you can explain whatever your concept or your business is to a 9-year-old and they can get it,
that as well,
then that means it's easy for you to articulate, and the recipient will really get it. And like you said, the ones that are interested to learn more, they'll ask leading questions. So you can start to have that kind of deeper engagement with them, as opposed to doing a deep dive and losing them because you've gone into
it's just like eyes glazing over and they're just like tuning out, right?
Absolutely. Andreas, I'm going to just change lanes a little bit. Rewind, knowing what you know now, if you were to rewind back maybe 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, what would you do differently that from having that insight?
I mean, so bearing in mind, I only started my business in 2019, which is, crazy time leading into COVID. I think I may have mentioned earlier my background's in software. So it's obviously easier to say, right, if I went back 10 years, I would have started my business earlier, because that's certainly true. I think it's been a strange journey, to be fair, because I've had that complete shift from, one industry over into, doing property, running the business as I do now. If I had to say, I think the main thing I would have done differently is just try and appreciate that I think I was always meant to be a business owner. I just didn't realize until I started this business, because this is my first business. I certainly know it's not going to be my last. And I like to think that the more business owners I talk to, I think we all have that moment where at some point things kind of click and we go, I'm not weird. It just turns out I should be running a business and not working for someone else. Right. And I think I had that moment as well, because I think I spent, if we go back 20 years, certainly at that time, going through jobs, education, career, I think many times where I thought, what's wrong with me? Like, why is this becoming so boring to me so quickly? Why am I not kind of content and happy in this environment? And I just think, if I had to go back and say, it would have been start a business earlier in my life. Definitely.
Fantastic. And for the people that are either leaving university, young folk, or starting a business, what's your recommendation to them?
My recommendation would be, number one is think about something you're passionate about. There's a Japanese concept called ikigai, which I really like, which is the idea of, can't remember all the aspects of it, right? But the basic concept is finding something you're good at that you can get paid for, that the world needs, right? And I think the more you can think about what that is for you, I think the better you're going to fare. And so in property, I see people start property businesses to get out of property. People get into property to get out of property. And it's like, the money is the motivation. It's not running the business. And I think this is what we have to be really careful of.
Sure.
Because if you want to make money, there's, 510 million different ways you can do it, right? But I think to find something that gives you purpose is really important. And that starts with, what is something you would like to do? And then when you start down that route, the way, again, the world works now with ads, social media, you're going to start getting into this idea that it's saturated, everyone's doing it, right? And I remember this when I started my property journey. I started getting all the ads from all the property courses, right? And then suddenly feels like the whole world's doing it. The reality is, there's always room in any industry to open a business. If there's a lot of people doing it, you just have to look at, like, how do I make this different? How do I innovate this? And, I've got a niece and nephew as well. And I try not to lecture too much, right? But I'm really trying to also expose them to the idea that actually what I wish I'd known earlier was that there is another route. You don't have to just go for education. You don't have to get a university degree, And I just think there is so many options and resources out there right now. You know, even in the UK, this is what's blown me away. You know, when there's things that I wish I'd known when I started a business, resources I wish I'd known about. You got startup loans. You can get £25,000 from the UK government. You know, 7% interest. You pay that over 5 years. It's about £500 a month. You got £25,000 to start a business with. Right? If you've got a great idea, that's a great place to start. It's super easy to get. You know, it gets you off the ground, even if you've got to buy inventory or whatever, right? And it's enough, I think, for most people to get started. I just think it's never been easier. It's never been easier. And I also think it's hard, but it's so rewarding, you know, when you find that thing you're really passionate about and you do it to the fullest you can.
Fantastic. Some great advice there for, people starting a business or leaving university. I think you're right. I agree. I went the university route, but in this day and age, that's one of many routes as opposed to the only route. And yeah, starting a business is, you need all the help you can get. And yeah, there's lots of support out there. It's a bit of a minefield sometimes of what support and how to get that support. But you're right. I think some great advice. Andreas, that time has flown by. I really enjoyed the call. Just before we wrap up, not long term, not 3 years, 1 year, but 3 months. What's the big goal that we need to achieve in 3 months, or what's the milestone we need to get to?
I think the biggest goal I have right now is I'm on a bit of a mission right now to help, you know, as many business owners and busy professionals as I can.
Okay.
My two kind of core clientele, I mentioned business owners earlier.
Sure.
But I really, really want to get more people into this, have more people see how easy and accessible this can be.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to sit and raffle out all the numbers here, right? But you can start in property with about £60,000, you know, in Leeds. You can buy very close to city centre, get started, you can get something that's very, very profitable that will do you very well next couple of years. So I'm really trying to, especially, you know, when I go south and overseas, to have people see how accessible and how easy that can actually be. Certainly, you know, this is where we come in, right, as a business. So I really want to help more people like that. You know, I don't want to, just like myself, work in a software job. I know there's people who are getting burnt out and they know they can't keep working, but they have money to invest and do something with. And I was like, I want to help people get off the ground, you know, and get to that point where they feel like they can actually get out of the business or get out of their job and have a little bit of security on the side.
Sure. Fantastic. Well, for everybody watching, listening, if they fit that criteria, we'll put all your socials in the show notes and in the descriptions, and they can always DM us as well, and you as well, because you'll be tagged in. And then, you know, let's get you guys connected and see how you can help them move forwards. Again, thanks for coming in. Appreciate your time. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, great. No, great being here, and some thought-provoking questions as well, which I always like.
Absolutely. Thank you.